We are less than 24 hours away from the 2025 NFL draft. In fact, most of you will probably be watching this video on draft day. But what I did is I came up with a list of the players that I see most commonly mocked to the Saints with that number 9 overall pick. Now, I didn't include any quarterbacks in this list because I think at this point it's a little lazy just to, say Shadur Sanders or Jackson Dart is going to the Saints at 9, especially with all the info out there that by all accounts, the Saints are not interested in taking a quarterback at 9. Now, they could come out tomorrow and shock everybody, right? They could do it, but I doubt it. So I made a list of the 7 players that I see most commonly marked to the Saints, and I want to rank them from 7 to 1 in the order of that I would be most happy with the Saints taking that player, if that makes sense, right? And now I want to say this is not my list of players uh, that I would like to see the Saints draft at number 9. This is just the most common players I've gathered from mock drafts that people around the media have the Saints taking with that ninth overall pick. Now, there is an exception in this list. There is one player who has not really been linked with the Saints at all until somebody that is usually in the know did so within the last couple of days, and I'll explain more on that when I get to him in this list. So, without further ado, I do want to say if you would please drop a like on this video, it helps the channel out a ton. With that being said, let's get into it. All right, so like I said, I have 7 players listed here. I am going to rank them from number 7 to 1, 7 being the player that I would like to see the Saints take with that ninth overall pick the least. Okay, so let's start off with number 7, and that's going to be Michigan cornerback Will Johnson. Now, there are several reasons why I have him last on this list, most notably because he is coming off injuries, right? He's a often injured player, and I am tired of the Saints being injured, man. That's just the truth. That's the main reason why he is down here at 7. Now, in terms of fit schematically, I think he's a fantastic fit in Brandon Staley's defense. He's more of a zone corner who is going to drop back, read the quarterback, and break on the ball. And that's what Brandon Staley has his cornerbacks do a lot. So in terms of fit, I think he's good there. Now, there's been some talks that he maybe quit on his team a couple of times when the going got rough. So you obviously don't like to hear that. So that combined with the injuries, I have him at number 7, but I think if the Saints do go out there and draft Will Johnson, I think he does have the potential to be a really good player for them as long as he can stay healthy. But, it's the Saints we're talking about here, so take that for what you will. Number 6 on this list, I have Jalen Walker from Georgia, linebacker, edge, or whatever you want to call him. And him being that kind of tweener is exactly what kind of just moves me off of him. I don't really want, I'm tired of these. I don't want to call him a project because he does have some crazy traits, physical traits, and he does show a lot of flashes on tape. But I need a guy that this is what he is going to play, and stick him there and let him go. Right with Jalen Walker, you don't know if you want to play him off the ball, on the ball, and it's just not really clear on tape what he does well. And probably an edge rusher. If I was making the decisions there, but again, it's like it just gives me like PTSD flashbacks to guys like Isaiah Simmons, who was so dynamic in college, and nobody was really sure what he would come into the league and play. And then he got to the league and has done absolutely nothing since then. So number 5, Jalen Walker. Again, like he's not a player that I would be super upset with the Saints taking, but it's just for the list's sakes, right? And number 5, now this is a player that I mentioned before I started giving this list of a guy who really has not been linked with the Saints at all, but in the last couple of days, someone that's usually in the know mocked him to the Saints. And that would be Josh Connerly Jr., Oregon left tackle. Now, Nick Underhill, if you know New Orleans football, probably the best Saints reporter that we have, right? Or at least one of the best. And he released, I believe, what is their final mock draft where all of his guys over there at New Orleans football, picked their who they think the Saints are going to take with that ninth pick. And Nick Underhill selected Josh Connerly Jr. And that is so random that it definitely made my ears perk up because why him? Why now? Why all of a sudden? I know here, especially late in the draft season, a lot of buzz has been going around about the Saints really looking heavily into the offensive tackles, and that would kind of fit with the Josh Carnley Jr. pick here. Now, with a lot of the guys on the board at this point, or I should say, depending on who is on the board at that tackle position at this point, I don't know how I feel about the pick. I like Josh Connerly Jr. I think he's a good player. Um, he's a guy who, again, dealt with some injuries early, or in his college career, but kind of started to come on late there at the end of the season. Went against Abdul Carter this year, had a couple of nice battles with him. So I think he's a good player, but it depends on who's left in terms of offensive tackles on the board, right? Like if you see uh, a guy like if Mimbu's still there, I would prefer Mimbu. If Will Campbell's there, of course I would prefer Will Campbell over him. Um, and am I forgetting anybody? I feel like there's somebody that's slipping my mind. Maybe Kelvin Banks Jr., but I think he's probably going to fit more into being a guard in the league. Although I do feel like he has earned the chance to play tackle. Just until he can't, right? And another thing I want to note is it was announced today that the Saints are not picking up the 5th-year option on Trevor Penning. And again, if you put all of this together, right, it sort of points to the Saints heavily considering taking an offensive tackle. Now, just because they didn't pick up Trevor Penning's 5th-year option does not mean that they're giving up on him or quitting on him. We've seen it in the past. Cesar Ruiz is a guy who they did not pick up his 5th-year option. Then he played really, really well and earned himself a nice contract. And I think Trevor Penning certainly has a chance to do that this year, especially when you look at how good he is in the run game. I just don't think that's a player you give up on yet. So I'm hoping he takes some leaps in terms of pass protection this year. And I thought he definitely played better last year than we had seen him play earlier in his career, right? 100%. So you see him on the right track. Brandon Thorne, um, a guy that I trust, offensive line guy, fellow offensive line guy that knows what he's talking about, even tweeted something out about it today, saying something to the effect of, that he's so good in the run game that you just can't give up on him yet, right? So number 5, Josh Connolly Jr. Number 4, Tyler Warren, tight end. Now, I've spoken in videos before about how I would not be a fan of this pick, and I'm still would not be a fan of this pick, but I've kind of come around more to it as of late because at the end of the day, the Saints need weapons. They need playmakers, they need juice, and Tyler Warren is a guy that is going to bring that. It just makes me nervous picking a tight end with a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. But Tyler Warren, obviously a talented player, obviously can, you know, uh, bring a level of skill to the Saints offense that they just don't have right now. But again, like I talked about it before, you combine that with, already kind of having a tight end room when you pay Jawan Johnson, Taysom Hill, despite him coming off an injury, and Foster Moreau. That's just a lot of value to spend um, on a non-premium position. So, uh, for Tyler Warren, right? So, getting to the top 3 here of players that I would like to see the Saints draft. And remember now, this is not my personal list. This is just a list compiled of guys that I see most commonly mocked to the Saints. So, number 3, Michael Williams. Now, this is a guy who I just watched a few more games of his today, and I've kind of came around on him a little bit more. I still not a huge fan of taken him, but just in terms of this list, he's at number 3 for me. I think physical traits undeniable, right? And I think he has these huge long arms that I think he uses really, really well. I think he's really technically sound at times, especially like in terms of the run game and staying gap sound. I think he, definitely shows flashes of rushing the passer. This guy is an edge to me, you know. Um, just sick him after the quarterback, in Georgia's system he really wasn't given a ton of opportunities to rush off the edge just because of the position and the style of defense they like to play. They play him a lot at 4-eye, so just inside of the tackle. And it just really doesn't give you a whole lot of opportunities to rush the passer that I think would benefit him ton. I think he just needs to be on the edge and let him go hunt the quarterback. Period. Right, and like hunt down those backsides of those wide zones, outside zones, um, things like that. Right. And another thing with Michael Williams that I like is if you watch, one of my favorite things to do when watching edge rushers is see how they take on pullers and see how they take on sift blocks from tight ends. So when you're starting to play and the running back goes one way and the tight end comes back across the formation the other way to block that defensive end who they leave unblocked. I like to watch how an edge takes on those blocks, and Michael Williams wreaks havoc. Okay, he is not somebody that just waits for contact. He is not somebody that just sits there and gets blocked. He is going to bring contact to whoever is coming for him first, right? He is going to knock their head off, and that is one thing I do like about Michael Williams. He doesn't take plays off, and again, the physical traits are there. So Michael Williams wouldn't be the worst pick in the world, right? So now we get to the top 2 in terms of guys I've seen mocked to the Saints. Mason Graham, right? I doubt that Mason Graham is going to be there at this point, but if he is, the Saints should literally turn in this draft card the second that they get the chance. Now, Mason Graham is going to make an impact on whatever team he goes to right away in run defense. Now, listen, I know it is not the most flashy thing in the world, but man, this guy cannot be moved in the run game. Double teams do not affect him. I think his best in terms of pass production, pass rush production is only ahead of him. He's only going to get so much better in terms of that, and he's already pretty good, right? So Mason Graham, if he's there, the Saints, I mean, you got to fly to him, especially in that defense that Brandon Staley likes to play, where he likes to have his defensive linemen play a gap and a half. So basically, they're responsible for one gap in the run game, but they're also kind of having to peek back at the gap behind them or to the left or right of them, whichever way. You got to have a guy that can handle double teams and fight off blocks, and that is what Mason Graham can do tremendously. And then if you're doing football math here, you probably know who number one is for me. Um, and it's Ted McMillan, Arizona wide receiver. I just think that this guy is so good. I think that the draft analysts have just come to the point where they have overthought him. Overthought? Overthunk? You get the point, right? I think he's so good. I think he is clearly the best wide receiver in this class. Class not counting Travis Hunter, of course, because Travis Hunter is just in a totally other league of his own. But I think Ted McMillan is the perfect complement to a receiver like Chris Olave. It can make you can if you draft Ted McMillan, this he can go play that X receiver. Chris Olave can go over and play the Z. He can play the slot and he can move around. He can do things more to his strength. Ted McMillan, big body wide receiver, is going to make contested catches. He's really good, really underrated with the ball in his hands, yards after catch. I just think he could do it all. And again, I think I've seen him slide down in the first round in all these mock drafts, and it's just to me, it's what they call draft fatigue. Like he is so clearly the best wide receiver in this class, in my opinion. And I just think he would fit perfectly in that Saints offense. Now they need a quarterback. Obviously, we don't know who's throwing him the ball. Most likely, probably Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, right? Uh, because again, Tyler Shuck. It seems like if the Saints are going to pick a quarterback, it's probably going to be Shuck, but that's for a different conversation. We'll see within the next couple of days what happens. So there's a list. Just run through it real quick. 7, Will Johnson. 6, Jalen Walker. 5, Josh Carnley Jr. 4, Tyler Warren. 3, Michael Williams. 2, Mason Graham. 1, Ted McMillan. Appreciate you guys watching. I'm excited for the draft. I hope you guys are too. Again, if you're still watching, drop a like on the video. I would wildly, greatly appreciate it. Appreciate you guys watching. Peace.